Yeah, that works. Now let's see what about this screen here.
So many buttons to push.
I know, ain't it exciting?
Oh,
Good evening. You guys are all around town. Every day you're in a different joint.
We haven't been too many places lately.
Good for you.
But did you enjoy that
I
concert?
thought it was great.
Yeah, did you know about it ahead of time? And we only found out about it the day before.
Well, Laura Checkout, our congregant, and the woman who knows about every show in town.
Okay.
If you want to know the shows in town, you just talk to her, including the behind the scenes and behind the scenes and behind the scenes. So she had free tickets because her she
I mean, normally Branford Marcellus would be sold out in 15 minutes.
yeah, but we're lucky in Rochester. Everybody's so saturated with culture, with free culture. They don't know what to do. I don't know. I didn't even know who this guy was. I'm so ignoramus. I vaguely knew that there's a Marcellus family. Blah, blah, blah. This guy is wonderful. I thought I was tripping as a musician, as a person of the soul.
Well, what happened was they didn't publicize it. So like the day before, we got half price tickets to Branford Marcellus came through on our computer. I go, huh? You know, and then I looked on the seating and it was like hardly anybody attending, and I'm going, what is wrong with this?
Where was
Hochstein.
Oh, really?
And so we got like, we sat like 3 rows back for half price.
I had front row.
Publicized at all, but it turns out that this man who introduced me said, I've just started a new business downtown.
The live something?
Yeah, live, I'm bringing, it's a family business. He was obviously black, you know, bringing people in for concerts. So then he announced a couple.
Maybe I should let him produce ROSH-ESTHER next
But
year.
I couldn't quite hear it, and when I went on the site, they went on the site, so he's got a lot of work to do to get it going. Cause I'm afraid he probably lost a lot of money on that.
Considering how big the jazz festival was here,
Yeah.
that people knew about it since the jazz festival sold out so quickly.
Yeah.
And if he was here for the jazz festival, it would sell out so quickly. It would sell out immediately.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, I felt a little bad, but hopefully people will clue them in what to do. Yeah, oh my gosh, the musicians were fabulous.
I was tripping. I couldn't believe my luck. Our seat was hilarious because we were front row, left field. So I was staying for the whole concert at the pianist's socks, as he was like moving them, jumping around. Like, he had very colorful, exciting socks. Was a very interesting angle, but nonetheless, I thought they were awesome.
They were.
It was really out of this world. Lucky us, right?
Yeah.
And to the rest of you, you missed out.
So do you know about the jazz festival?
Yes.
Great.
I was already here last year, so I'm hoping to go to something. His brother is coming,
Yeah,
so I hear,
he is.
from another congregant who's a jazz fan, David Rothberg.
Oh, Winton is,
Went to Marcellus.
but there's also Jason Marcellus who's on key.
Oh, is he coming
He
too?
plays live, not this time.
Anyways, is it already 7 o'clock? No, it's not. We could talk about jazz for one more minute. Did anyone come in on Zoom today?
Oh, the other thing, everybody should know this, there's so much free stuff at Kilburn. Because there's such talent teaching at Eastman, they're required to give concerts like, you know, and some of the student groups are just fabulous. Yeah.
Called the Sax Project, they have like 20 different saxophones up there.
Mhm.
Just have to get ourselves.
Because, you know, I went to see American in Paris.
Oh, yes.
Was it was phenomenal.
Is that a
It
play?
was not, it seemed like a different, I mean, the JCC has great performances.
Yeah.
This was above that.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Because
Is it done now?
when they did Gunfire,
No,
that's sort of there.
This was amazing. They worked with the Draper Dance Studio, so the dancers are these young dancers. It's worthwhile.
Oh, good.
Jazz dance is Saturday night at Rosewood Live Band,
At where?
Rosewood,
Oh, in New York. Oh, no, here.
here.
There's a rose room here. I've never been, but I heard of it. What did you see there?
Gregory Street in South.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they do. This was something.
Yeah, different churches, there's once a month, there's a
Yeah.
live band that comes in for, the Rosewood is down small.
Oh.
All right, I figure the sooner we start, the sooner we can go home, right? So we might as well start on time. Thanks all for coming. Seemed like no Zoomers today, which is kind of funny. We could still see ourselves and feel professional about ourselves, but we don't necessarily have to we'll keep the link open just for a few more minutes in case somebody changes their mind. Nonetheless, I'm happy that those of you who came in the flesh are here, since that's really always better. I think especially in this kind of teaching. If I cough a little bit, don't worry, I don't have COVID, it's just slight allergy. So I'm not gonna infect you with terrible diseases, so, or if I do, just don't worry. Since you're studying Kabbalah, your soul is probably gonna go to heaven after you die, so there's nothing to worry about, only that heaven might be awfully boring. But no worries, until then we have some time together here on this planet, here in Rochester, New York. So, let us sing our song. Oops, that's not the song. All right. Benada, alele malale, alele malale, benada, alele malale, benada, alele malale, alele malale, benada, alele malale, ki koach az lecha, יש לך כנפי רוח, יש לך כנפי רוח, כנפי נשרים אבירים, אל תכחש בה, פן יכחשו לך, דרוש אותם, דרוש בן אדם, וימצאו לך מיד. בן אדם, עלה למעלה, עלה למעלה, עלה בן אדם, עלה למעלה, כי כוח אז לך, יש לך כנפי רוח, יש לך כנפי רוח, כנפי נשרים אבירים, אל תכחש בם, הם יכחשו לך, דרוש אותם, דרוש בן אדם, וימצאו לך מיד. All right, you guys are quite the singers. Maybe we should start a Kabbalistic choir. That would be something, right? I'm hoping that that we're actually in session. Oh, the meeting is happening, so if there was anyone, then they would be joining us. Okay, I'm always afraid that maybe we're like in the wrong session or something. But we're not. Okay. So, let us try to meditate a little bit. So we can make sure that we are sitting in a comfortable and conscious way, as centered as we can, and not like falling or leaning to any side. So like as if we could just imagine us that we're like being hanging from a thread and the top of our head is elongating and reaching the heavens, and our feet are centered on the ground so we can kind of like push against Mother Earth, see if she notices, little wee, kind of like massaging her with our feet. And we are allowed to sit and just be conscious of our body for a few breaths. Just become aware of the space that our body takes in the world around it. So the physical boundaries of our flesh, of our self. Let's focus on the movement of our breath as we inhale, exhale. Taking in good life energy that comes from the universe around us, and exhaling any tension, any angry thoughts, any pessimism, anything that prevent us from being content as much as we can. Observing our bodily sensations, whether pleasant or not. Observing our emotional self, any feeling that we've been having today, whether pleasant or not. And observing the chain of thoughts that, like a freight train, seem to come from somewhere and go somewhere. Always thought about something or another. Are we able to observe all these thoughts and emotions and sensations without feeling too attached in particular to any one of them? In the secret of Eheye, as we have learned, the Kabbalistic names of God, just observing. Then, as much as possible, turn our consciousness inwards and observe the observer. Who? Me. Who? Which the Kabbalists call the question within, me, is that who observes all these things that makes the self. found deep within, near the source of our souls. So in every inhale, we can direct ourselves to the depth of our souls. God bless me. Who created the sneezes? And in every exhale, we can see how this self meets the outside world, what the Kabbalists call ma, what. As we've been learning last week and the week before. And so the inner heaven, which is our mental, psyche, emotional, spiritual, intellectual self, is caught between the inner question where we connect to our divine source and origin, me, and the outer question, ma, as we meet the outside world in which we live and our material existence. In this conversation between me and ma, let's see how we just are breathing into it as we inhale and exhale. And now from the place that is most centered, aware, appreciative, aligned, that we can be in this very moment, we're all welcome to say our Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Now let us say the blessing of studying Torah together as we make an intention to study, dedicate this coming hour to the enrichment and the transformation of our own souls, but also wish that good things may happen because of this Torah study for anyone that we know and love, who's in need of that in their lives, and even to people and things that we do not know, but we wish good upon them. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kiddushanu B'Mishvotav V'Tzivanu La'asot B'Divrei Torah. Okay, let us slowly open our eyes. I will go to blow my nose. Don't worry, it's just allergies. Still getting accustomed to the local pollination. So, we're lucky enough to be studying the Zohar today from the place that we stopped last week. And hopefully we'll be able to find that spot in the text. So we've been following Rabbi Elazar's thoughts. Remember? So we said that we're reading a text that is a conversation between Rabbi Elazar, the student, the son of the teacher, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and the master. So there's a conversation between them. Until now, for the past 2 or 3 weeks, we've been studying mostly Rabbi Elazar's contemplations, where he discovered the me and the ma as 2 points of reference between which his soul is defined. So self meets the world, that's ma. Self meets a divine spark within, that's me. Very interesting that these 2 points of connection are defined as questions, right? We meet the world with a question. What will this day be like? I wonder. What will the future bring? I wonder, right? That's kind of like, that's the ma, that's the end of heaven below. Because heaven means the inner spiritual self in Kabbalah. It's not the heaven. Okay, heaven in Kabbalah means everything about us that isn't the earth. The earth is material. Earth is our bodies, is the material world, and the heaven is everything that is spiritual, intellectual, maybe emotional, right? Everything that is us but isn't physical. One might argue that what I ate yesterday becomes today's emotion or thought, right? So there's interrelation between heaven and earth, right? But so the end of heaven below is called ma, where we meet the world. The end of heaven above is me. Who is this? Who am I? Who's that observer? Who created? Right? And I don't know if you remember, okay, so that's kind of like Rabbi Elazar, and he was building this entire structure of verses from where? From Genesis, which were interpreted allegedly, and Isaiah, right? Lift up your eyes above to the heaven and see who created these. Mi bara ele. Mi bara ele. And he taught us that it's not looking to the stars like Isaiah meant, and literally, it's look above, look into your gazing within and find. And then he said, well, what if everything is wonderful? But then he had to bring lamentations, because lamentation means destruction and disruption. What if heaven and earth are disrupted? What if the flow between the 2 questions, heaven and earth, there's a disconnect? Because whatever, trauma, misery, agony, confusion, whatever it is, right? What happens? That's lamentation. That's the destruction of the temple. Remember, we read that. Jerusalem, for the city of my birth, but not to the Kabbalists. They don't, for the Kabbalists, Jerusalem, the city that has been put together in Psalms, when Jerusalem is built, and the temple is restored, or right, then there's the sacrifice that connects heaven and earth, because the smoke of the sacrifice is always connecting heaven and earth. So that's a symbol of connection between me and ma, if you wish. Heaven, end of heaven above, end of heaven below. So when that happens to us, wonderful, right? Whenever there's a cut, we feel diaspora. We feel disconnect. We feel challenged. We feel whatever it is, right? Something's not okay, right? So Rabbi Elazar was elaborating upon this, right? That's where I think we finished kind of reading whatever Rabbi the same, more or less. And so, yeah. Okay. Can you see this? Do you see this? Maybe we should make it larger, not that large. All right. So after all this hula baloo, look what happens. Now it gets interactive. Okay, after Rabbi Zohar kind of like is sharing his Kabbalistic observation with his father. And if you're thinking, oh, this was really long observations, well, they had 12 years to be in the cave together, buried in sand, and only their heads would show up, and they had only carobs and to eat and water to drink for 12 years, according to a Talmudic legend. So they have time to talk, right? 12 years. And then even one more extra year, because when they came out, they were burning everyone alive. We talked about that last week. So, having heard all that, Rabbi Shimon replies, Elazar, my son, seize your words, so that the concealed mystery on high, unknown to any human, the Zohar knows to be dramatic when it wants to be, may be revealed. How do you interpret this reply?
And language is not the way to get to the answer to this question, or even maybe to ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
So you can throw as many words as you want at it, and you don't.
Yeah, so just like it's a good point, Eric. So thank you. So, right, so just like how we have been observing how the Kabbalists like to always deconstruct and reconstruct language, right? Turning questions into answers, turning the meaning of words, just, right? Alluding to using language to kind of transcend beyond and within language, right? So like one way to definitely interpret Rabbi Shimon's answer to Rabbi Elazar's speech, maybe seize your words because you're talking too much, or you're talking maybe not too much, but there's another level to the teaching here, right? Which silent would do better for this kind of truth that we're trying to bring through here. Anybody has another nuance or thought about this kind of answer?
Well, I think that sometimes the words are just too much, and they also can hide your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Too many words, just keep quiet, and
Yeah.
then we can know what's really going on.
Right. Like I, for example, I try not to answer my emails at all. As a rabbi of this congregation, I kind of make it a point to myself to try to avoid answering any email. Because, whatever, if it's important enough, someone from the office will come back to me. So but really, I answer some emails sometimes. Sometimes I read email, but I don't answer. So don't assume I didn't answer your email. It's just because I was having a Rabbi Shimon moment. It's like, no, I'm not going to speak now. It's kind of like you're right. But I would agree with you that 80% of what everybody says, including myself, is like noise most of the time, right? In other words, unless you're one of those really silent people who are very good, but I get paid to speak, so like I fill it up with fillers, but filibustering my life away. But basically. So yes, right? So this is something we know from therapy, we know it from poetry, we know it from art, we know it from life. That language reveals a certain thing, but there's a lot of thing underneath, right? And it is also something that we can learn. Anyone else? This moment of don't speak, right?
Well, I'm thinking it's like the Buddhist saying that if you meet the Buddha on the road, you should kill him.
I love it. How, I mean, every time there's a comparison to Buddhism, I love it. But in what way is it like that?
Well, as I understand that saying, it means that if you're on your path, your spiritual journey, and like, oh, that's it, that is the thing, that is the Buddha. No, it's not, so just
Right.
kill that and go on.
I love it, right? Because because just like Rabbi Elazar was portraying, he was saying, right, since you go up from rung to rung, trying to get to me, oh, right, Rabbi Elazar himself showed kind of like the futility of spiritual quest, but also not the futility. In other words, we reached a point, but then we're always hit by reality, and there's always right, there's where to go, but there's nowhere to go. Like I told you last week, don't come to this class. Many people have listened and they have don't come, right? But the few fools who still do, me included, right? So there's nothing to learn. In the end, there's only being present in the moment and accepting life as it is. There's nothing else to it, right? But we keep. What's that?
That's it, it's like learning to listen and keeping quiet and just have that inner sense or intuition or God, whatever you want to say, come through you, that's what it is. So if you're quiet and just be,
Yeah,
the truth comes out.
beautiful. You know, which is why we try to start even this class with a little bit of quiet and meditation, although I interfere with my instruction, which I never know if it's a good idea or not. But then after the Shema, I always shut up because, you know, in other words, but yes, basically, right, basically we're understanding that for the Kabbalists, this is a very important moment in the text. And it goes on a little bit because we see that so what we have in the Zohar, these really long drashot, these really long texts elaborating upon all this Kabbalistic symbolism and whatever. And then there's this thin layer of what we call the frame story, right, in which somebody embedded these ideas within kind of a laconic story. Right now, it's like between these two figures, right? Archetype, like figures, characters, father, teacher, student, son, right? And they're in a conversation. And the student isn't stupid, right? The student is advanced. Yet here we learn that for the Kabbalists, we learn from the medium is the message. The story is no less important than the actual text. Maybe it's more important because we're learning how we're supposed to learn and teach and contemplate in Kabbalah, not just talk, but also a lot of silence, right? If you want to grasp what it is. So then the concealed mystery on high, unknown to any human, may be revealed. Right? There's a truth that Rabbi Shimon wants to convey to his son, to his student, but the words alone will not reveal it. Right? The secret, the mystery that is unknown to any human may only be revealed if you're not speaking. In other words, go home, put some earmuffs on, sit in meditation, better usage of your time than coming to this class when we talk. But then Rabbi Shimon will also talk, right? We understand. And Rabbi Elazar was silent, right? He's actually doing that. And Rabbi Shimon wept and paused for a moment. And you can also translate it for an hour, depending how you want. That it can be a moment, it can be an hour, depending on how you want to translate it. But there's, never mind how long, there's that pause, and there's even weeping. Why do you think he's weeping right now? And why is there weeping in this pause? What's the significance of the weeping?
Something was revealed to him.
Maybe because something is revealed to him. Maybe.
Because there's silence that something could be revealed.
Mm-hmm. What kind of tears are those?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of tears are those, in your opinion? There's different kinds of tears. Imagine the moment, the father, the son is talking, Then he stopped talking. Then the other one was also, they were like silent together for a while. And then Rabbi Shimon is weeping. The teacher, the father, is weeping. What kind of tears are those, in your opinion?
Happy, proud tears that his son finally shut up and.
It could be, he's,
Got it.
we're having an aha moment together, right? Took us 12 years in the cave, but finally he's come about, right? So, yeah.
He could be weeping because in the silence, some part of the mystery was revealed and
And then,
overcome.
so he's overcome by the intensity of the experience, right? It's a very moving experience. What other possibilities are there?
He's recognizing the futility of the whole thing. He's gotta talk to Eleazar to give any wisdom to him, but he's just told him that you're not gonna get any wisdom through talking. I'm stuck.
So maybe it could be maybe frustration, maybe. What else?
Overwhelmed by the beauty.
Maybe that, like when you see an amazing art piece or a beautiful jazz concert and you cry with joy. What other options? Why else do people cry?
Allergies, yeah.
Pollen. Maybe it was springtime in Rochester and they were having allergies.
It could be because he doesn't have the answers and he can't help his son. It's like, oh, you're on your own.
Maybe because maybe there's that. Really, in the end, we're all on our own, right? Maybe his son was also portraying a lot of pain, experience, right? He was talking about his pain. About, you remember, he was bringing this Jewish mantra, Gadol Kayam Shivrech Mi Yirpalach. Your shevel, your ruin is as large as the sea, as Yam. Mi Yirpalach, which Yam and Mi are the same letters, remember? As large as the shevel is, as the ruin is, as great the shevel is. Shevel means both ruin and abundance in Hebrew. So, yeah. So, Rabbi Elazar, his son, was expressing a lot of pain. He was telling him, I know the model. I learned, I'm a Kabbalist. I've been to like Kabbalah 101, the yeshiva, right? I'm your son. I know the model, but nonetheless, I experience lamentations. I experience pain. I experience disconnect. I don't know how to bring my me and ma together. Right? So it could be that Rabbi Shimon is also feeling his son's actual pain. And maybe that, everything else that you said could very well also be that it's not one, this is a literary text. We can interpret it. In other words, this weeping may have a lot of meaning. Very significant. It brings the whole thing to the emotional realm as well. Right? So it's not a cold study. It's a study, this is a tradition that also thinks about human experience and human emotions and human pain and wants to bring healing to the pain of human, right? And it's not just intellectual and cerebral. Important when you think about our own study here at Temple Sinai, the community that we're trying to build, the kind of study session that we want to bring here, right? Should it be only intellectual and full of words, or should it be also the kind that allows for silence and emotional connection of all sorts, right? What is the kind of learning and teaching and community that we're trying to build here? That you guys have been building for 75 years, and I just came like 11 months ago, but so those are that's the moment, right? Then, yes.
One of the things that this sort of made me think about is the troubadours of the 1960s in the United States. And they had a song, "The Answer, My Friend, is Blowing in the Wind."
Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan.
Me, yes.
And if that is true, and that this is really infusing the entire area that we're in, then it comes to you without knowing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, right. So sometimes realizations are not that we're seeking for deeper, they will not be revealed when we try to understand things. Sometimes they will, but often they won't. right? If you meet the Buddha, kill him or her, right? If you meet the Buddha on the way, kill her. Because if they tell us, you can never get the answers from words, that's also a false belief. Sometimes we can get the answers from words and from intellectual, scrutiny, but oftentimes we can't, right? And sometimes the answer will be blowing in the wind, and there'll be something else that happens, an opening, a softening, a reckoning, right? That how many, right? So yes. I was thinking of Bob Dylan actually just the other day because I just got a gift, which is an electric guitar. Because Jeff Wicks, may he rest in peace, because we played some guitar before he passed away, the Jewish home. Then he said, or his partner Rachel said, I don't know who said, but they wanted me to have one of his guitars. So now I have an electric guitar. It's actually in the shop being tuned and all and reset. And then I was playing. I said, oh, it actually has a wonderful sound. Maybe I'll start playing it at services instead of my classical guitar. Why not? And then I said, oh, maybe they'll hate me like they hated Bob Dylan when he. So I said, but then I can compare myself to Bob Dylan. I can be known as the rabbi who changed from classical to electric. Anyway, so thank you for bringing Bob Dylan again. We'll
The
see.
whole idea of things moving through our lives, whether it's actually the outside, where there is motion, and it's inside in what we're thinking. It's every time we experience that, we're given the moment. You get new inspirations.
I love what you're saying because it's kind of like it's just things moving through us, and I think this goes very well with this Kabbalistic observation of what are we and who are we? In fact, we are this kind of like, well, we see what Rabbi Shimon has to say, but basically we are that which is between these two questions. Things go through us. What is actually the self? Right? They're describing two motions. Think about the Star of David, right? There's a triangle going upwards towards the heavens. Do some yoga. There's a motion, another triangle going down, right? So the Jewish symbol is a conversation between that's the Israeli flag for you. In the depth of the spirituality between the blue line and the blue line, right? There's basic. Now Zionism redefined, right? But that's what it is in the depth. Okay? There's a motion going upwards, like the ceiling here, then we go into the heavens from above, and there's a motion that goes from the heaven to the earth, and we are these two motions. So if everything just goes through us, what are we? Right? And coming back to the teaching of ani ein, this I, ani, and nothingness, right? Emptiness, which are the same letters in Hebrew, ani and ein, right? And here the same idea, me and ma. Okay. Yes, sir.
When he says cease your words, and then he talks about going to the seashore. In my mind, it's don't talk about something, but go and do something.
Mm-hmm.
Go and exist and be
Right.
and act.
Oh, so you read forward to the seashore. Oh my God, you're one of those people. I was always one of those people because I'm like Nancy, like the teacher reads too slowly. Like, why are you talking so much about every word? Just read on, dude. We didn't come here to listen to you. We came here to read the text, right? So she sells seashells on the seashore, right? So absolutely, right? We're going to get to the seashore, right? So this house is very, very Zen of you, right? In the end, you can talk about something. But then it's also about doing, motion. And in Judaism is also a very ritualistic religion, right? In the end, if you have like 10 Jews here, you probably have 30 different opinions and theologies, depending on the day and the mood of the people, right? And so in Judaism, we're doing things, and then we're thinking, oh, what did that mean? Blah, blah, blah. We can change the story 5 times, but right? What is the miracle of Hanukkah? There's like 4 different explanations to that at least, right? In other words, right? It's also, this is very Zen. We don't just do things, talk about things, think about things. We go and some
No,
action.
because if we just are in this continuous flow,
Mhm.
do we even exist? And I think we exist if we're doing,
Mhm.
I mean, that's,
Do we exist?
yeah.
We're gonna all coming out of this class wondering if we even exist. But no, then we get in your car and you drive it. Like, don't think that you don't exist too much. Okay, it's like there's still like you have to be able to log traffic. You got to brush your teeth in the evening, etc. Right? In other words, yes, right. But then one would say doing can also be an escape. Depends where the do. Right? There's whatever, and these 2 motions, right? What is that self, and what is this soul doing here? Right? These texts, they kind of echo these questions, these existential questions, these spiritual questions. Again, the text in itself, it's like my Qigong teacher that I would go in for 2 years, I would go every week, every Sunday. We'd start 9 a.m. in the social hall on top of the Galilean mountains. It was a social hall, really like this. And we'd do the Qigong there, and I would go like this and like that, and I expanded my horizon, and then I realized, oh, I could immigrate to the United States. And I did. Right? So then the teacher, every time at the end of the class, he would say, forget everything you learned. It doesn't matter. Whatever you remember, whatever you forgot, whatever you remember will show up. It's already in you. So it doesn't matter what the texts say. If they awaken us to some kind of a deeper kind of like whatever realization or whatever it is, that's great. So Rabbi Elazar was silent, and Rabbi Shimon wept and paused for a moment. Then he said, Elazar, what is these? Reminding you, mi bara ele, who created these? Right? We're interpreting Prophet Isaiah. Lift up your heads to the heavens. Who created these? And we already know that the gaze of the question is not only this way, it's also, and maybe mostly inwards. So that is me. Me is the question within. But what is these? What is created by me? With the question. If you answer stars of the constellation, in other words, if you take the literal meaning of Rabbi Elazar, right? Of Prophet Isaiah, that it's the stars in the heavens, and you look outbound, they are always visible there. And were created by what? As it is said, by the word of Adonai, of Yahweh, the heavens were made. In other words, he's saying this is not, you see, everything that is external to us is not created by me, it's created by what? Right? What is the meeting point between us, our consciousness, and the outside world? See what I mean? Again, there's me and ma. So if Prophet Isaiah really meant the stars and the constellations, he would not say mi barayla, he would say ma barayla. In other words, he's saying we're not talking about the external material world and the universe around. As for things concealed, such would not be referred to as these. Like if we want to go within, inside, to the mystery of the divine, right, what human beings do not know, etc. For that indicates, for that word, these indicates something that is revealed. It can't be the mystery of God that we cannot grasp. See, it can't be on the fringes. It can't be at the edges. Because if you think it's the outside, the external world, outside of ma, it's not, because that's not what we're talking about. But if you go inwards to me, these also can't be, because if you say these, it means you can point on it, you can see it. Right? So what is these? Where does it fall? Nicht hier, nicht dort, as they say in Yiddish. Okay, he's asking a rhetorical question. He wants to tell us what it is, right? But he's creating like a Talmudic discussion. If you say this, it can be. If you say that, it can be that. What is it then? This mystery was only revealed one day, says Rabbi Shimon, when I was at the seashore. why seashore and not, 12 corners or the mall or, well,
It's vast, you can only see the surface and it's a lot of possibility.
right, so there's something about the sea, so why not in a boat in the middle of the sea, why the seashore?
First you see the tides are coming in and
Maybe.
waves change, continuous change.
Great, I love it. Let's go deeper into the metaphor of the seashore.
It's the place where the land and the sea meet. It's, there's only a shore when they're both the land and the sea.
It's a liminal space. It's right. I love it. So, first of all, we've already been talking about Kedol Kayam Shivet. The metaphor of the sea, of the ocean, is already there in Rabbi Elazar's speech, right? And everything you said, I like it. Yes, the seashore is like a meeting place. A little bit. Where does one end and the other begin, right? It's a liminal place. But when people go to vacation, where do they usually go? Or when they want to get either the mountains or the seashore. You can take a survey. Who's more of a mountain person or the seashore person, right? So, right, we go to the sea, right? What else?
Oh, it's always changing because there's a tide,
Ever changing, ever fluid, right? There's depth, there's salt for the weeping. It's a wonderful metaphor for everything we want to do, right? So Rabbi Elazar, so coming again to the fact that maybe he had an aha moment in nature. So these kind of truths, they can't be revealed just like, I don't know, like when you're like in, I don't know, Highway 490 driving. You have to like be at the sea. In other words,
Well, you could be in my garden right now where every day I see things growing.
Right.
And it's like you can actually see the movement of the
Beautiful.
plants.
Right, so we could talk about different places and different things and different activities that we do that can help us be at places that are like the seashore, right? That inspire us and help us, be more connected, right? So Rabbi, so again, what kind of study is Kabbalah? The kind of place that doesn't just want to stay in the synagogue or the Beit Midrash, the study hall. It sends us just like it sends us to be in touch with our silence and with our emotions and with our weeping. It wants to also send us to Lake Ontario Beach, right? And whatever, Canandaigua, whatever it is, right? To go and explore and be inspired by places such as the seashore, with all the symbolism that you and the metaphor that you have added and referred to. So yeah, so Elijah came. So this truth is so profound that it's not for Rabbi Elazar to teach us, it's the teacher has to teach us. But the teacher didn't know about it either. He had to go to a special place. It may have been an outside place in the world, but it may also have been an internal seashore of sorts, where no other than Prophet Elijah appeared to him. Now, mind you that, the word in Hebrew for these is what? Ele, Aleph Lamed Hey. Eliyahu has to be the prophet who teaches about Ele and Yahu, which is God, and see what I mean? Eliyahu, the answer is embedded in his name. Okay, there's many levels to the Hebrew here is more than you can. So Elijah came to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the great Kabbalist, an alleged author of the Zohar, and taught him this amazing secret that we're going to learn on. And then he'll say, what was the secret? There's no secret. But we're building drama here, right? We're building, we're at the seashore. Elijah came. Ooh. And asked me, Rabbi, do you know the meaning of who created these? In other words, Rabbi Elazar, my son, my student, don't worry. I was once also in that situation. I did not know the answer to this, who created these. And evidently, not knowing the answer is not just, I was in that I know where you are now. You're in that crisis between heaven and earth. You're trying to climb up the rungs and reach enlightenment, but you're thrown against the harsh realities of your life. And you're not finding healing for your pain, agony, whatever. and you feel like you're in a loop and all that. That's why I was crying also before, because I felt you. But don't worry, I was once where you are. And then Elijah came and asked me the same question. Who created these? Who created these? Asked me Elijah at the seashore. Not me, Rabbi Zohar. I answered, these are the heavens and the array, the work of the Blessed Holy One, which we already know is the wrong answer. Right? Because it's not. Right? Human beings should contemplate them and bless him, as it is written, when I behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you set in place. Adonai our Lord, how majestic is your name throughout the earth. Right? So basically Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is telling his son that he once was mistakenly thinking that Prophet Isaiah means the spark and consolation. And I even gave Elijah, a proof from Psalms that this is what it is. Right? Well, where's the next page then? Oh yeah, here. Elijah said to me, Rabbi, the word was concealed with the Blessed Holy One, and he revealed it in the academy on high. You see, we're going like the text is not only teaching us, trying to teach us some obscure secret, it's also like the hierarchy of the source of the authority of where this tradition that we're learning now is based, is coming from, is rooted, and it keeps going higher and higher. Because we started with, we started with me, Rabbi Zohar, who came from who knows where and landed in Rochester and teaching you some Kabbalistic hula baloo. Then we kind of like, thank God, transcended above to Rabbi Elazar, the Kabbalist, who gave us a whole teaching about me and Ma and this and that. But that wasn't good enough. He got stuck. So we brought his father and teacher, Rabbi Shimon, the biggest teacher of Kabbalah of the Zohar, to teach us. But he's not the authority of this teaching. It's Elijah, the prophet, who revealed himself. Ta-da! Elijah has never died, Really, Elijah never died. He never died because he was the only prophet that we know who was actually fired by God. You know that. Elijah was fired by God because he refused to learn about silence. The whole thing. Elijah was always very fanatic. He killed 400 false prophets on the Mount Carmel. He was very, very jealous for God. Couldn't take any heathens and any, nonsense for nobody. And then God tried to calm down. And you think of Elijah, how do you portray Elijah? How do you think he looks like? Anyone ever seen Elijah? You never were at the seashore and you saw a weird hippie who was like Elijah?
He comes occasionally on Passover.
How does he look like?
It's on a little drum.
What's that?
Like the wind.
We don't know, right? So some depictions have Elijah the prophet as like this dignitary man with a white beard, but actually his biblical depictions are this crazy man wearing like furs and having like long hair. He was like crazy shaman, jealous, who just wants to kill all the heathens. And then God takes him to the desert for a seminar, rehab for 40 days. And then he shows him, like fire and earthquake and storm, and you tell him this is not, God is revealed by, kod mamadaka, the sound of pure silence. But Elijah doesn't get it. Like, no, but they were doing this and that, and I was only, jealous for you, God. So then God says, oh my God, this guy, take off your garment of prophecy and give it to your assistant, Elisha. And then Elijah goes in the Jordan River, again, in liminal space between the Holy Land and not the Holy Land, and a chariot of fire takes him to the heavens. Right? He was like, like when you can't fire someone, you upgrade them, you kick them up. So, but Elijah never died, not so much because he was he was a very special, but because his energy was such of a rebel and unquiet that he just didn't die, right? And he comes down to what in Passover and on Bris, right? And on every Saturday night, right? And it's like a lot of work, right? To be Elijah the prophet. And then sometimes Elijah appears when you're like something appeared, like it's called Gilui Aliyah, like when you're in distress and Elijah can come and show you secrets until you think there's a whole branch of Judaism in India, people who believe in Elijah the prophet. Elijah is a very, he's like one of those characters. He never died. So because he never died, he's a connector between heaven and earth. He's also going to be the one who comes before what? Before they're coming to the Messiah to announce, because again, he's the one who tells us. He's the announcer, the proclaimer of redemption. And if you think of redemption not as a, something that will happen in the future, but something that can happen to our soul when we get that connection, then yeah. So Elijah is here trying to proclaim something. But even Elijah here is not the authority, right? He says Elijah isn't going to claim to be the originator of this truth, or the person who wrote the Zohar and wants to convince us to buy the book, right? Like this is a big secret. It's not even Elijah. What's the source of the secret that we're going to be learning now? Yes. And who taught it? The Blessed Holy One. Who's the Blessed Holy One? God taught it in the academy on high. Did you know there's an academy on high? In the heavens, there's an academy of all the enlightened beings, such as Elijah and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, and all those people who have halos, right? And their souls will become like, speaking of stars, right? And in the celestial academy, they're all sitting there studying Torah, and the teacher is none other but the Blessed Holy One. And Elijah apparently is a visitor in that academy. And you come see, so the authority of the secret here is coming from, see how we've climbed in the text. They're playing with us, right? There's stretching dimensions here. Now, wouldn't you want to know what the secret is, right? No, we're out of time. We have to go home. Okay, let's read. Well, that was a teaser for next week. All right, so yeah, here it is. What is the secret already? You want to know? We've been tripping here, right? Elijah took us from the seashore to the heavens, to the academy. Okay, all right. So, yeah, here's the secret. When concealed of all concealed, verged on being revealed, it produced at first a single point, which ascended to become thought. Within, it drew all drawings, graved all engravings, carving within the concealed holy lamp a graving of one hidden design, holy of holies, a deep structure emerging from thought, called me. Who? Origin of structure. Existent and non-existent, deep and hidden, called by no name but me. Bring all the owls in, right? Right? Okay. Wow. I want to go to that academy. I want to smoke what they're smoking and eat what they're eating. Right, so sorry, I didn't want to bring this down, but some of you might be survivors of the 60s, so yeah, maybe you have some faint memories of what I don't know anything about. So, all right, so yeah, what do you think about this paragraph? Somebody is getting poetic with us. Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of like that when that the concealed of all concealed turn turned out to be a single point, because that leaves it for the beholder to find, imagine, think through, and it's full of possibility.
Hmm. So the symbol of the point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Does it go back to that yud idea?
Yes, the
Yeah.
origin, right? So again, we've seen, again, all Zohar texts teach the same thing. There's no reason to come back, right? But it's always from a slightly different angle, right? So yes, the idea of the origin point of creation, right? Coming like from the white blank slate, from the white page, and the feather or the pen touches, and before you write the name, Yud Hey Vav Hey, the point of origin, right? And then that point becomes what? What does it become? A thought. Now, which thought? Of who? Of who?
Just thought.
Right? So this is like try to follow any thought of yours, of ours, to its point of origin. Where the hell or the heck or the heavens does it come from?
I mean, I had a thought, and after we read that, something in me just sort of sank, and I said, it's all myth, it's story, it's fairy tale.
This.
Yeah.
Oh, it is, absolutely. This is art. Somebody wrote
So
this.
all of a sudden I got really disappointed.
Wait, we're not done yet. But yes, in the end, there's nothing but, in the end, there's only, it's like a beautiful jazz concert. And what did it, it's only art. It's only a saxophone and a bass and a drum and a keyboard. But then it creates something, right? So wait, don't get too disappointed yet. All right? So any thought, where does it come from? Right? Every moment of creation. There's a concealed of all concealed, creating a point that becomes a thought, that becomes, creates reality, etc. Right? Yeah. What else?
It comes from who, but who is always a question.
Right. Anyone ever seen a question mark?
No, but you can't say who without asking.
Right. So the beginning. So before there's a concrete concept, there's a question. It's by the way, it's very close to the practice of non-attachment, right? If we have a thought and oh, this thought is really important. This thought is going to explain my reality to me, and if I'm going to say it to somebody else, they're going to also be convinced by my thought, and I'm really going to hold to that thought or that opinion or that idea of mine, and I'm also going to impose it on others, and my thought is wonderful. It is. Underneath it, there's a question, there's an unknown, there's an uncertainty, there's an openness. Anybody ever seen a question mark in your life? How does it look like? Somebody who invented the question mark in Kabbalah or came from, you see what I mean? Every question is basically a question mark is a picture of that idea. There's a point, and it's not even touching the thing that comes out of it, and it kind of goes back to it's pointing back. You see, it's like circular a little bit. I think it's interesting, yeah?
As soon as you think the thought, it becomes a thing, it becomes a fact or a these.
Yeah.
So as soon as the me of the who with the thought starts, all of a sudden it's a what? As you're thinking it, you're
Well,
pressed onto a concept in a sense. So it's no longer me, now it became the what.
Well, wait, hold it right there. Almost, because you see, we already find that it can't be. It's like it's an in between, right? A thought. If the thought becomes a deed, if the thought becomes like if I thought about inventing a dishwasher and here's the dishwasher, then it became a what?
But again, like you were holding on to that thought, I'm gonna
Right?
make you believe what I say, it became something more.
Yeah, so I think you're right there. You're right there in the sense that you're understanding that they're giving us a map of every moment, of every of manifestation. They're giving us a picture, like a design of manifestation, from the concealed of all concealed, becomes a point, the point becomes a question, the question becomes a thought, trying to answer that thought is the question. Then the thought, a lot of things can happen to the thought. Some of the thought just will go, nothing, right? Some of the thought will become speech, some of the thought will become an action, some of it will become an idea, a concept that many people believe, like this country is the United States of America. That's just a thought. These trees, these stones don't know that they're part of the United States of America. Therefore, you have to pay federal taxes. Therefore, people from Mexico can't cross the border. Therefore, blah, 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 blah. These are all concepts that we've invented. That what's a country anyways? And like this, therefore, we're going to put that person on the bus and on the plane and kick them out to Nicaragua, I don't know, whatever, right? So there's thoughts become, sometimes they become like entire worlds. There's a thing called money. We all have to work to earn it. Why?
It becomes a deep structure.
It becomes a deep structure.
So.
Yeah, it's like deep state, right? Deep structure, right? So yes, so these thoughts that are, they become very real, whether in our consciousness, and then if we are, if we control like Facebook and Twitter, we can actually convince a lot of people that our thoughts are true, are what they should also believe in, right? If we own all the AI power.
Thoughts are something rather than just a thought, you know, like, you know, they're.
So thoughts build our reality. See, this is deep, this is profound text. This is a text that is trying, just in my humble opinion, trying to make us aware of all these deep, I love it that I didn't think about deep structure as deeply structured as you have taught me now, right? It's a very, yeah, they become deep structure, and we, all of a sudden, our realities are, I can do this, I cannot do that, I am this, I am that, this concept, I do, yes, no. But, see, so Kabbalah is also a little bit radical. Right? It deconstructs. Imagine teaching that to people who are like Orthodox, and you tell them, God said this and that, and these are the rules, and between you, if you eat like a steak, you have to wait 6 hours before you can eat, you know, vanilla ice cream, and right, and all of a sudden, they're just thoughts. But really, what about our economic system, our social structures? They're all based on thoughts that are based on questions that are based on nothing, in the good sense. So I can just go and rob a bank and you know, have like 7 identities and see what I mean, and do whatever I want, because it's just, morality is just a thought. And okay, if you take this to a radical see, so this is, so maybe not, but see what I mean? There's yes, these deep structures are thoughts that are lying on questions, that are lying on the concealed of all concealed, and whoops, the thought comes.
But that's what keeps the these and the what moving in some kind of order, or else everything would be chaos, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how can, you know, I'm just struggling in my head, because you're right, but then it's like, without it, what would we be? What
No,
would
that's just
we
a thought, don't worry about
I know.
it. You think too much.
I know.
My wife's always telling me, you think too much. So what if I said something yesterday? She tells me, it doesn't mean that I mean it now. It's like, okay, I'll go for it. But so why are you worked up about it? So right, so yes, right. So again, you know, the fact that we understand that this radical deconstructionalist kind of truth doesn't mean that we have to like go and burn all the bridges and, you know, like become like hippies in the wilderness. We saw what, you know, those of you who survived the 60s, you saw what happens when you go too much in that direction. Right, in the end, we need structures. We create these structures. But we should understand that these structures are also more fluid, and they're also more changing, and they're, see what I mean? There's also a what? There's a spectrum here.
Right, there's a what, and like you said, these things are always changing, so don't worry, be happy, it's all right, it'll change, and it'll, like, if we can just go with it, it doesn't mean we don't need the structure, but don't get so bound to it and hung up like, no, the sky is falling, it's like, whatever.
We acknowledge that our existence here is between me and ma, is between who and what, right? And we're not, even in the most non-judgmental way, the entire spectrum is wonderful and holy. All right, the structures are just as good as the no structure. The answers are just as good as the questions. It's all a process of becoming, right? And all right, so do we have time to read further? Not a lot. Try to read one more paragraph, or we'll read it next time, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Seeking to be revealed, to be named. And we already have who, the question exists, right? It garbed itself in a splendid, radiant garment and created ele, these. So the question appears from the nothingness, but the question can't just be hanging there with no answer, with nothing. It's existent and non-existent. It's like quantum physics, right? It's like a quark. You need to catch it somehow. You need to catch that question and put some concept on it. Otherwise, it falls, right? So once it has the splendid radiant garment, it created these, ele, attained the name, these letters joined with those, culminating in the name Elohim. Right? We've seen that diagram before. So what is Elohim? What is Elohim? God. But what's that?
It's plural, it's everything.
Right, and now I understand that God is actually, and we already studied this before, but I wanted you to see the text where it comes from. God is actually a compound structure. The question that has no, that you can't, it's just a question, and the garment that it has, that is ele, a concept that you can say that's the concept. All right?
God is both, right?
What's that?
God is both, it's me and.
God is a combination of a concept, a thought that you can grasp, and the underlying question which you can't, which is the origin of that thought. Okay? That is God. So that is actually, if you're like an atheist, you can enroll in this class. Right? Because God is not something outside of you. It's a process that happens in your conscious, within your consciousness, according to this teaching.
So is this saying that who created God?
Well, God is who created these. God, the word Elohim is a combination of who and these, me and El. So it's a process of manifestation in every moment. It's deep stuff, in my opinion. It's like, and I taught this 20 years ago. I didn't understand it the way that I understand it now. And 20 years from now, hopefully, I won't understand it at all. Right? So, yeah, it's deep stuff. It means that every thought is every concept has an underlying undefined question, and the combination of these two levels of manifestation is Elohim. Yeah.
Okay, so if God is a concept, would God exist without man?
I don't know.
You're the rabbi.
According to these teachings, not exactly. The next pages, they show how God was created parallel to the creation of Abraham. In other words, until Abraham came and discovered God, who is Abraham? Abraham is the person who rediscovered the one God. And that just as God was being created, Abraham was being created. In other words, it needs an Abraham. It's not even any person. It's a conscious person who contemplates and discovers God that creates God. If you're a person that never contemplates,
That just, in my opinion, that doesn't mean he doesn't exist. Yes, God exists, but until Abraham recognized it, there was no way to say, oh, me and Elo, and, you know,
Yeah.
it's just, it came to, again, trying to describe something that's indescribable.
Yeah, I mean, God, exactly, God may very well exist in some realm, in some, right, but until there's Abraham, and we are the sons of daughters of Abraham, right? We are the ones who are supposed to continue that work. We echo these divine realizations in our consciousness, and then in our tradition and speech and daily conduct, right? And how we meet the world and how we operate in the world. In this way, God is being manifested by our consciousness and by our existence, right? So in some other planet, maybe there are other creatures who are doing that, but here,
Same God, different planet.
who knows? I don't know. But you see, also God, what is God according to this? God here is is not external to us. God here is basically our spark, and also the result of that spark combined. It's the entire, see, it's a different way of thinking. It's a totally different way of understanding divinity, and that is probably the Messiah that is ringing now to tell us.
Elijah.
It's Elijah telling us it's 7:15. See, it says. So let's just read the paragraph until the end and go home, okay? We'll steal a couple of minutes of your time. Until it created Ela, it did not attain the name Elohim. See, so God cannot exist when it's just a question. Elohim is a combination of the question and its manifestation. But it's not a physical manifestation, it's only on the level of conceptual thinking, okay? Based on this mystery, and we've said this before in one of the classes, those who sinned with the golden calf said, Ele, these are your gods of Israel, which they did, right? Because they forgot the question, right? In other words, they say to us, every time you are in love with with a concept and you think it's too solid, you're sinning the sin of the golden calf. Concepts are wonderful, they're not bad, as long as you remember that they came from a question that came from nothingness, and that reality is fluid. The ability to hold concepts and enjoy concepts and utilize them, it's fine. We're not like saying that concepts and thought is bad. We're just saying use it, but remember its fluid nature, right? And just as me is combined with Ele, so is the name Elohim is constantly polysemous. What does that word mean? Listen. What is polysemous? Poly, I know.
Full of everything.
Comments. Anyways, we're going to get to that. I have to look in the original Aramaic. Wait, where were we?
There you are.
Right? Through this mystery, the universe exists, no less. And then Elijah flew off, poof, disappeared. He's very dramatic. He told us the secret and disappeared. I did not see him. From him I discovered the word whose mystery secret I have demonstrated. Rabbi Elazar and all the companions, all of a sudden we realize it's not just, there's a whole group there of students. Elazar is speaking on behalf of the group to the teacher, but all the companions came and bowed down in front of him. Rabbi Shimon, the teacher, weeping, they said, if we have come into the world only to hear this, it is enough. All right, so.
Probably seems
It is
it's
enough.
just a word or phrase that has multiple meanings.
Yeah. So the word Elohim has multiple meanings. It's more than one, multi-leveled, yeah.
It is enough. We've come to hear you.
Well, it's enough that we're going home now to our amazing lives, right? So now you see like the drama that the Zohar likes to sometimes, like wrap itself in as a teacher that's teaching. So go home, forget everything we've learned, don't worry about it. We have one more class of this semester, on which I'll also share with you some thoughts about next year, hear your opinion, and let's see what happens. All right, don't worry, be happy.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
If Abraham came
Hmm?
from a land where they had many gods, did he choose the God that we now use?
It's a great question, because you know, the Bible only tells us that he got this lechma, he got a voice in his head to tell them, go, just. And there's different interpretations. Was it chosen, or what did he, there's different, even in the Zohar, there's different opinion on whether it just happened to that God spoke to him, or that it was through a very, very careful kind of like analysis that he was like thinking about and contemplating, and then he discovered it.
I wonder how he got to that one
Yeah,
God.
there's other teachings in the Zohar about that one. So yeah, it's a great question. Maybe he just spoke to him, and
Pick
maybe
the best one.
maybe he got to it after being a
What are you
scientist.
taking for the allergies?
Some random CVS drug that they're giving me. It's not that bad, really. I think I didn't take it today. Maybe I took it in the morning. What are you taking for the allergies?
Lester, what should he take for the allergies? He's taking a random drug.
Like a
What should he
CVS
take for the
drug.
allergies?
I find Allegra works.
Allegra?
Yeah,
Is it over the counter?
it is over the counter.
I'll look for it.
It comes in generic, which will be cheaper than.
Okay, I'll go. I have to go to 2 pharmacies today, so.
Yeah, I mean, you can get it anywhere, but
What's the active substance there?
what is it?
I can find out.
What is it actually called? But the brand name is Allegra, but the generic works just as well.
Okay, I'll look for it. Thank you.